direct misfire, talking many war games. Bensome and Spoon are taking aim. Comment, like, and subscribe today, keeping you notified and up to date.
Hello champs, and welcome once again to another Direct Misfire Missive. Joining me today as always is Spoon as we talk hobby and events. How you going, Spoon?
Not too bad, yourself?
Yeah, pretty good, thanks. Just come back from a jousting event, which was fun and games. Apart from the wet and cold, it was good. Alright, so what's on the agenda for today's missive? We've got a couple of interviews covering a couple of events, one international event and a international campaign day, and Convic, which is happening in Victoria. And then we'll chat about your recent tournament experience, Spoon.
Yep.
So let's get into that now. We'll start off with our interview with Kris Kapsner, so I'll insert that now. Okay, and today we have a special guest, Kris Kapsner. Is that how I pronounce your surname?
Yes, it is.
Yes, and what brings you on the show? Tell us a bit about yourself first.
A bit about myself. I am, I've been playing Kings of War since about 2 or 3 months after the Age of Sigmar dropped
Yes,
last year.
Like a lot of people, I'm sure.
Like a lot of people. And prior to that, I was playing Warhammer Fantasy since 2002. A little bit before that, I was playing Mage Knight, which is kind of how I got into miniature gaming, which was a pre-painted miniatures. They make the same company that makes the Hero Clicks.
I was going to say, is that Hero Clicks? Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. So I got into buying those models while I was role playing and playing Dungeons and Dragons and things like that. It was pre D&D minis, and just started playing the game because I happened to have the miniatures, and then I got into miniature wargaming, and people turned me on to Warhammer Fantasy, and I got into tournament gaming quite a bit over the years, and then really started to ramp up my grand tournament traveling just a few years ago. And when the shift happened, we had just 3 years ago, we organized the U.S. Masters and started getting regions kind of traveling and intermingling more and things like that. And I was really enjoying that. And when Age of Sigmar dropped and people started kind of going in different directions, I was asked to throw my name into the hat for the region chair for the Midwest for the U.S. Masters. And so I threw my name in there and ended up becoming the chairperson. So
congratulations.
I don't know if that's a great thing or not, but and I kind of banded together with another avid tournament goer, one of our best players in the Midwest, who was also coming over to Kings of War. And then we had in our region, we're kind of a broad region, and so it's Minnesota on the northwest side of it and Ohio on the east side of it, and we're pretty spread out. So it takes me, if I want to drive to their events over in Ohio, even though we're in the same region, it's over a 12-hour round trip, or a 12-hour one-way trip, I should say. So 24-hour round trip. But the Ohio area did have a relatively strong Kings of War community, existing Kings of War community coming in from first edition. The TO that ran the Clash of Kings at Adepticon for the last couple of years, he is from that region, and the champion is from that region and things like that. So I asked Kara Brown to join us also on the committee for the Midwest. She is the last year's champion for Clash of Kings in the United States, or North America, I should say. And we've been just trying to build it ever since. And now I've shifted my grand tournament that I run from Warhammer Fantasy to Kings of War this year, and doing things like getting involved with Mark Cox and organizing the National Campaign Day and stuff like that. And of course, I have a podcast with my co-host Michelle Olson. We do the Lake S.W.A.T. Fantasy Squad podcast.
Yep.
And have shifted. Oh, thank you. We've shifted from Warhammer Fantasy to Kings of War, and Michelle also has a YouTube channel that's Oasis Rising. So if you're interested in finding her tips and tricks to painting, her latest projects have been involving putting LED lighting inside her treeman models and things like that. It does. So I got to see that firsthand just a couple weekends ago.
We'll put the link in the show notes as well.
Yeah. Yep.
Excellent. So that's my rough background there.
So it's quite colourful there, kind of dabbling in everything, and like a lot of people transferring over from fantasy.
Right.
What armies are you playing? Spoon brought up the question just before recording. So what's going on your hobby table?
Well, I have a lot of different armies. I mean, when you're an ADD hobbyist and you've been in it for over a decade, you tend to collect a lot of models, and I have a tendency not to sell anything. So I just keep collecting armies over and over. And so I have, lizardmen, and I have dark elves, and I have high elves, and Warriors of Chaos, and beastmen, and let's see what else. It can keep on going and going. But what I primarily played in Warhammer Fantasy for a decade was beastmen, and in 2012, when the Warriors of Chaos book came out, I shifted over to Warriors of Chaos, and so I was playing. And then when I started looking at the Kings of War rules, wow, it looked like I could get back to my beastmen and they would be competitive again. So I jumped into the herd, and that's what I've been playing primarily. So I took the herd to Adepticon, and I've done a number of demo events and things like that. And then I went down to the Twin Cities, which is about 2.5 hours away, down to the Minneapolis area, to play in a smaller one-day tournament a few weeks ago. And there was 16 players for that, so it's not too bad for a small local event.
Have you had much success with the herd?
Well, yeah, I took them to Wapaka, which was the very first Masters qualifier for the Midwest, and ended up taking 5th there, and actually should have been tied for 2nd, but
Nice.
I calculated my own points, and when I turned
that was on your cast, wasn't it?
Yeah. I literally found out while we were recording the cast. And then I went to Adepticon and took 4th place there, which I thought was pretty good considering the strength of schedule I was facing. I think there was 34 players there, and I played 1st place, 2nd place, 5th place, 6th place. I took 4th, so I only missed 3rd place in there, and then also last year's champion. So it was a good strong schedule.
So you're doing all right for yourself then?
Yeah. At the one-day event, I took 1st there and didn't miss a point. So the herd are treating me well.
Nice work.
Sounds good.
Yeah.
All right. So what's this tournament that you're organizing and running?
So the Lady of the Lake GT is we're transitioning, as I mentioned, from Warhammer Fantasy to Kings of War. The first time we did it was last year officially. The year before that, well, the 2 years prior to that, we were doing a GT called Berserkon, and which was basically we're trying to get a grand tournament in our area, and we were attaching that to a local gaming convention. But it was getting difficult to get people up here for it, just because there's less risk when you attach yourself into a gaming convention, but there's very little money left over after people pay for their entrance just to get into the convention itself, left over to buy prize support and trophies and things like that. And so it was kind of difficult. So we branched out on our own last year to become the Lady of the Lake GT, and we're right on Lake Superior. I don't know if you guys in New Zealand know where Lake Superior is, but it's the really big lake right in the north middle of the United States. It's the biggest Great Lakes. Biggest lake.
I'm just on Google Maps now, just having a look at it.
So if you see the big Great Lake on the northwest side there, that's Lake Superior, and the lower left corner, that's our port town. Duluth is the biggest city on Lake Superior.
Okay.
Lady of the Lake seemed fitting, and so we're doing kind of an Arthurian theme to it. And last year we had an engraved sword that the winner got to draw out of a stone.
That's
Stuff,
pretty cool.
so making it fun.
Yeah, bit of ceremony there.
Yeah, exactly. Who doesn't want to do that, right?
Yeah, that's cool.
So, do you want to give us a bit of information on the event itself?
Sure.
Points.
It's it's going to be July 30th and 31st, and the point level is 2,200. So I
Okay.
like to do something a little different points wise, just something to shake it up. So it's unique when most of the tournaments in our region are 2,000 points. Of course, Adepticon Clash of Kings was 2,500 points, but this is something just to shake it up a little bit. We are, allowing all of the army lists, including the Twilight Kin, and we are allowing allies and things like that. We've added in 6 new spells for the event, which is intriguing some people. It's something that is actually drawing Nick Williams in from the UK. He's on the
Rules committee.
rules committee.
Yep.
And he's coming over for it. And then we're drawing up some people from Texas, like Mark Cox, who runs Lone Wolf GT, and Jeff Swan, who runs the Moonshine GT. They're both coming up for it and things. So it's neat that you add kind of a unique twist to your event, and then people are like, that's something I want to try.
Yeah.
So
Yep.
it's kind of fun.
Okay.
What are the spells? Are you allowed to say, or is it a surprise?
Yep. No, they're actually on the website right now.
Okay, cool.
I'd be happy to kind of walk through them here
Yeah,
on your podcast.
Go for it.
All right. So one of the first criticisms I heard about Kings of War when I was trying to convince people to join me in playing was the limited number of spells. There's coming from Warhammer Fantasy, where I don't even know how many dozens of spells are in Warhammer Fantasy, to 6 spells in Kings of War, and most of the armies can't take all of them. There's only 2 or 3 or so, sometimes 4 or 5, depending on your army, but a lot of times you couldn't even take all 6. So we thought, well, let's try something different here and create some spells that are Arthurian themed and would give some people a different twist to their army, but it would be open to everyone. So any character, not monster or something, so you can't take like a Basilean Phoenix or something and boost them with spells, but any character that can take spells as an upgrade or comes with them inherently can purchase these spells, just as you would purchase a spell in their entry in the rule book. So the first one, Her Lady's Grace, it's a 2 dice spell, costs 25 points, 12-inch range. The target unit gains nimble if a 4+ is rolled until the player's following shooting phase. So you'd be able to potentially target a unit that normally wouldn't be able to make their way around something as easily, and be able to then move in your following movement phase with that unit.
Quite nifty. Yeah, like that one.
Yeah, it could be very handy since nimble is quite limited on a few things. So
Yeah.
Right. Or even, if you've moved, like say you've moved your archer unit, so now they're -1 to hit, but you cast nimble on them beforehand. Now suddenly they're nimble, so they don't have that -1 penalty. Shoot right after you cast that spell, or something like that. So there's a lot of ways to utilize that spell.
Yeah, cool.
That's a good one.
Healing Waters of the Lady. This is one that some people were like really raising an eyebrow to, because it's 6 dice heal spell, just like heal is in the book, only it's a 12-inch radius and affects all friendly units within range.
That's huge.
Yeah, it's huge. But it's very expensive. It's 70 points for that spell.
Yeah, it's pretty expensive.
Expensive. But I've had some people telling me that they're planning on, bringing a couple of casters with that and just being able to blanket heal their units, but we'll see. There's a trade-off there where you're spending so many points to keep units alive, but it certainly is very good if you're able to heal up 2 or 3 units at a time. It's certainly worth the points. So
yep.
And then Excalibur. This is probably my favorite one. It's a 2 dice spell, 12-inch range, same guidelines as Bane Chant. The target unit receives a +1 to melee, so that's just like the 45-point artifact that gives you
Okay.
+1 to in close combat.
Yep.
And crushing strength 1, so it's just like that artifact and Bane Chant at the same time.
Big buff.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
a big buff until the end of the turn. But as there can only be one Excalibur, this
Yep.
spell may only be cast once per shooting phase and does not stack with Bane Chant. So,
Okay.
60 points for that spell, but I think it's really good.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Cool.
Knightly Speed, 3-dice spell, 12-inch range. The target unit receives a +1 speed per 4+ that's rolled until your following shooting phase,
Mhm.
and that's 35 points. So
Interesting.
potentially, something that's out of range for you, or maybe you're on a flank and you have that you're facing off against that unit that's one movement more than you. This spell could come in real handy. But
Yeah, that's one that you would have to plan ahead a bit more for, because you've still got the opponent's whole turn before you're able to move that unit.
exactly,
Yeah.
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 But if you play it right, you could pull out some nasty tricks, I'm sure.
Mm.
Yes, I think so. Then Her Lady's Shield. It's a 2-dice spell, 12-inch range. The target unit gains +1 defense until the player's following shooting phase. So let's see. This spell can only be successfully cast once upon the unit until the end of the shooting
Yep.
phase, and it caps at a 6+ defense.
Yeah.
So that's 40 points, but certainly very good, especially those defense 5 units. I think it's going to be a huge boost to them to bump them to defense 6 for a turn.
Especially on, say, large cavalry are usually quite punchy and cap at defense 5.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. Which is fitting for the Arthurian
That's
theme.
right.
Then the last one, Knightly Resolve. It's a 5-dice spell, 12-inch range, and you may target a unit engaged in combat. The target unit receives +1 nerve for the unit until your following shooting phase for each 4+ rolled, and that's a 30-dice spell. So, on average, going up 2 or 3 nerve for the turn. I think that's
that'll
pretty
help
solid.
huge. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because playing the game for a while now, you notice the subtlety. So we'd always waver one unit just by 1 or route just by 1. So having a couple of
Right.
extra nerve can make all the difference.
Yeah. Very interesting. I like the sound of it.
I'm excited to see how it turns out. I'm hoping nothing's really broken. And I've asked people for a lot of feedback on point costing the stuff, and I've adjusted the points actually based on some feedback I've gotten, and I'm hoping that since everyone has access to it, then no one can really complain that something's
that's
broken.
right. Yeah, it's balanced in that way that everyone has access.
Right.
Yeah, I think there's probably a fine line in, as you said before, between picking X amount of spells from that list and building your actual army. So,
Right.
Yeah.
Be interested to have a look at it again. I think that'd be cool.
So if you wanted to just go over the details again, so just date and time and price and how do people sign up?
Yep. So you can go to lakeswatfantasy.com. That's LAKESWATT. So it's like a SWAT team, fantasy.com. And you can sign up there. It's $55 for early entry, $65 if it's, I forget the date that it's post. Might be June 1st, actually. So it's coming right up. I'd have to look again when that cutoff is.
Yeah.
But yeah, you can sign up there, and certainly, please, if you're even considering traveling to the Midwest, this is going to be a big one. We have 21 people already paid and registered, and I have about 12 to 15 more people that say they're coming.
Okay.
So we should be, in that 35 to 40 range. It's gonna be a lot of fun, and one of the things I like events that bring people together and are kind of social, because that's why we're playing this game and not playing video games. And so what I do is I throw a party on Saturday night at my house. I have a huge yard, and I grill up food and do the side dishes and everything, but people have to bring their own beer.
Yes. Good move.
But last year we had more people showing up for the party than we even had at our event. Because significant others are coming and stuff like
Yeah.
that. So it was a just a really great time, and we got a bonfire going and people just hanging out, and I allow people to camp in my yard as well for the event to keep costs down so people don't have to pay for hotels if they don't want to. And I had about, I think, 10 people last year camping in my backyard. So and sleeping in my RV. So so it was a very good time. And so definitely, if you're thinking about coming up to a Midwest GT, give mine a try.
Definitely. I feel like I'm missing out now.
Yeah, shame I don't have a butt ton of money to
Yeah,
get
that's
myself
right.
over there.
Yeah. All right. So if you're interested, we've got the details. They'll be on the show notes as well. Now you've got something else to talk about. The International Campaign Day.
Yeah, the National Campaign Day that morphed into the International Campaign Day.
Yeah.
we this was interesting pulling together because we have a Facebook group of TOs for Kings of War that were, our whole national community for the U.S. Voted essentially to switch to Kings of War for the U.S. Masters. 7 out of the 8 regions in the U.S. did. And so a Facebook group was started up for the TOs to kind of get on the same page, discuss any rules changes and things like that. Of course, um, coming from a Warhammer Fantasy background, people were talking about comp and all of these things because we're used to that. And then after not too long, people started figuring out, hey, this game is really well balanced, and we probably don't have to do much for comping. But one of the people, Mark Cox, threw out this idea of pulling together something like a tournament over kind of like on a national level, like trying to get people to play games against each other and then count it all for a tournament. And I shot back that would be a little difficult to do for a tournament, but a campaign could really be done this way if we, organized it well. And so we've been putting our heads together and coming up with ideas, and we've now pulled this together and named the date. It's going to be on July 9th, and it's going to be everyone that's taking part in it is playing simultaneously. You'll pre-make your lists ahead of time of 1,000 points, 1,500 points, and 2,000 points, and then also be able to adjust your 1,500 point list up to either 1,700, 1,800, 1,700 or 1,800, depending on what happens in the campaign.
Okay.
So the way it'll work is we're going to give out the first scenario to everyone just before, probably the night before, just to make sure there aren't any glitches. And then give it just like you would for a tournament. You have, an hour timeline for that first 1,000-point game to get your game finished and then turn in your results. And it's just going to be win-loss draw for each location. It's going to be good versus evil and win-loss draw. So what someone would report for a location, if you had 10 people playing, so you have 5 games going on, it'd be like, 3 wins for good, 1 loss, 1 win for evil, and a draw. And then you'd report that in. And we do some quick calculations because we're going to have the spreadsheet all ready to go that people will be inputting into, and be able to tell you, okay, for your region, good is ahead, but maybe for internationally, overall, evil's ahead.
Yep.
And there are different bonuses for those two things for your region and then for the overall campaign. And then we'd give the next scenario. And so you're kind of going to be playing like it's a tournament, but you're not seeing the tournament pack all at once. It's going to be, you're not going to see that scenario until you're actually getting to it. I think it's going to be a lot of fun. It's going to be, you're going to have the opportunity for some of the scenarios where you'll actually be able to give bonuses to your units. And if those same units are in your army for your next, as you bump your army list up in size, because over the course of the tournament, it's kind of growing, kind of like an escalation a little bit.
Yep.
And over the course of that, if you've given that bonus to a unit that's still in your army later on, you're going to be able to still carry that bonus over. So there's going to be a lot of fun tweaks to it. And the idea is at the end we're going to declare a winner, and Ronnie Renton has said that some kind of a prize or something like that will be able to be given out to everyone that's on the winning side. We're thinking some kind of an award symbol or something like that
Okay.
on their forum.
Yep.
You when you sign into the Mantic forum,
Yeah.
you'll be able to have something in there. So that's what we're kind of working towards. And like I said, it was initially just like a national thing where we were going to try to pull our regions together.
So what
And then
happened?
we had some people from well, some people from Canada contacted us and they wanted to take part, and then the guys from the UK contacted us and they wanted to take part. And we're like, okay, well, if you're willing to, play into the AM,
Yeah.
you can certainly join us. And so they are going to be playing in it as well. And ironically, one of my club mates is going to be over in the UK for a conference, and was planning on flying back on Sunday. He made adjustments to his flight to fly out on Monday instead, so he can go to the Mantic headquarters and play in the campaign day.
Priorities.
Yeah, exactly.
That might be difficult for us in Victoria here, because I'm just checking the dates. I'm pretty sure Convic is 9th and 10th, so
Yeah.
your 9th would be
Oh,
our 10th
sure.
on the Sunday. Is it just
Yeah.
the one day?
It's just the one day.
Okay.
It's going to be five games just that day. Basically, we have a different start time for each time zone, so that we're all playing at the same time.
Mm.
But you guys, I was kind of doing some math, and you guys would have to start at like 4 a.m. on Sunday morning or something like that.
Yeah.
Way bit
Not
too
an
early.
easy task. Yeah.
Those who aren't attending Convic, you got no excuse.
Right.
Get up at 3:30.
That's right.
Set up a
Play some
table.
games. That sounds really cool.
Yeah.
So how do people find out more about this? Is there a site linked to like sort of fantasy, or is it on the forums?
There is a Facebook page for this right now, and it's called the U.S. Kings of War Campaign Day. Like I said, when we were first getting this launched, it was just going to be a national thing, and then it kind of spread. So that's why it's U.S. Kings of War Campaign Day. But it's a closed group. Just ask to join, and of course we'll let you in. Right now we have 125 members in there,
Wow.
and we just keep growing. So word spreading around, and some of the people that have joined have said, "Hey, I've got a group of 5 or 6 people that are going to be playing, and they're not even all in the group." And we've started to pull together the list of basically the point people for each location, and those people we're going to get the day before. We're going to get all of the scenarios out to them, so that if there is a glitch, people can still run with it. And we're hoping there's not a glitch, but
Yeah.
you never know. So, it's our first time doing this, and if it goes well, we're hoping to do many more. So
Cool. I would love to jump into the next one
Yeah,
if I
me
can't
too.
get into it. Yeah. And just as we're speaking, I've just sent a request to join that group. Everyone else should
awesome.
follow. All right, cool. Was there anything else that you wanted to say while now that you're on the air? Any shout-outs to
Nope.
anyone? Nope. No. Everyone's beautiful
Well,
people. There you go.
Yeah, no, everybody's great. A shout out to I guess our next Midwest U.S. Masters qualifier. That's Blood in the Sun GT,
Mhm.
and that's going to be in Chicago. I think it's June 18th, 19th, and Chicago's a great city to fly into and spend some time there. And so anybody looking to play in a really fun Kings of War event in June, that's certainly one to take a look at and come over for. So
Okay, cool.
yeah. Thank you for having me on your podcast. I really appreciate it, guys, and I listen to every one of yours. So keep up
Thank
the
you
good
very
work.
much.
We'll have to get you back for an army breakdown.
Indeed.
Yeah, that'd be a lot of fun.
Maybe the
All
herd,
right.
hey?
Yes,
Yeah,
that hasn't happened yet. Yep, good idea. All right.
I'd love to. Just let me know when.
Will do.
Have a
right.
good night.
You too, guys. Take care.
See ya.
See ya. And our next guest is Andrew Goodman, part of the Vagabond Wargaming Group. Hi, Andrew. How you going?
G'day, Ben. Yeah, good, mate.
What do you wish to talk to us about tonight?
I have a tournament coming up that I'm pretty interested to spread the word on. I've been involved with the Vagabonds Wargaming Club since its inception. I was one of the first 5 guys who sort of got together and decided that we should do something together.
Yep.
And we've run Convic, which was obviously Warhammer Fantasy Battle tournament since about 2003.
Yep.
Many of us had the same issues with 8th as people now have with 9th. I jumped out of the whole wargaming thing when 8th came around. I think I played 4 or 5 games and went, not for me. So just haven't played until about a year ago, or a bit less than a year ago, when 2nd edition of Kings of War came out, and a mate introduced it to me and said, have a look at this, it might be the alternative you're looking for. So loved it instantly. Got the whole bug back for modelling and painting and prepping armies for tournaments and playing tournaments and thinking about the game all day, every day, and when I should be doing other things. And then thought, well, hang on, let's get Convic back on its feet, but for Kings of War. So we had a chat amongst some of the guys who have sort of had a resurgence into Kings of War, and I said I'd stick my hand up and run the first one. And it's, I suppose details-wise, it's the 9th and 10th of July in freezing cold Melbourne at that time of the year.
Yes.
And it's played at the Burden Park Bowling Club, which is out in Springvale. It's an awesome venue. Lawn bowls clubs traditionally not used very much over the winter, and lovely areas for parking and views out the windows and heaps of space. And when it was at its heyday of a Warhammer Fantasy Battle tournament, we hosted 120 players there one time, and it was pretty awesome. So got to start somewhere, and we're hoping to field a 20 to 40 player tournament if we can get enough interest.
Mm-hmm.
Have you got some details of the actual event, points, levels, scenarios and whatnot?
Yeah, sure. We've done something a bit different to what's been done so far. A lot of the tournaments in Australia so far have been simply like chess tournaments, win, loss, draw. But the Vagabonds Club has always been there to try and promote the hobby in total. So we've looked at how we could do a tournament that would encourage players to take a bit of time and effort on their armies and present armies that other people might like to play against, and actually have to think a fair bit about the construction of your army, because as most of us who play the game would agree, I hope, playing the game is what it's about. So you go and you get to play 3 or 4 games in a day, and that's a good day. So what I tried to do with the construction of the tournament was make it have the ability to play 7 games over 2 days, and to do that without getting that sort of overkill of my brain hurts at the end of day 1. I don't think I can face up to day 2. I thought we'd go for some varied points limits, and there's also a little side reason for doing that, and that's because I quite like playing small points games, and I wanted to encourage more people to play some small points games so that I've got more people to play small points games.
Makes sense.
Yeah. So what we've done is day 1 is 2 games at 1,000 points, followed by 2 games at 1,500 points, and that sees you out for day 1. And then day 2 is 3 games at 2,000 points.
Right.
So when you're preparing your army, you need to, I suppose it depends on what models you've got and all that sort of stuff as well, but you look at how you can construct your army inside a 1,000-point limit with some restrictions, because we don't want 310-point flyers flying around in a 1,000-point game, because that's no fun for anybody.
No, and there's some quite big restrictions there that I've had spent a lot of time trying to mull over how to get what I want in an 1,000-point list, because what is it? You can't have any unit over 200 points?
So no unit over 200 points, including artifacts.
Yep.
And a single flyer at 1,000 points.
Mm-hmm.
And then at 1,500 points, you can have 2 flyers and no unit bigger than 250 points, including artifacts.
Mhm.
And then when you get to 2,000 points, it's 3 flyers max and no limit on the points of the units.
Yep.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
So if you've had to spend a bit of time thinking about it, then my work here is done. That's what I want to do. I want to encourage people to enjoy all facets of the hobby, and army selection is one of the facets of the hobby. If you've got to sit down and go, well, the tournament I played on the weekend, I ended up playing with version 5 of the list that I started constructing 2 weeks beforehand, and went, nah, I'll do this one. Nah, nah. So I got to version 5, and I had a good time doing it.
Yep.
You know, I shared it with friends and went, what do you reckon about this? How do you reckon this is going to go with that and combo and blah, blah, blah. And if you've got to practice a few 1,000-point games before Convic, then that's good. You and your mates have played some 1,000-point games.
Is there any special scenarios, or are we playing straight out of the book?
We're playing pretty close to straight out of the book. We've got all 6 scenarios from the book plus one which is out of the book with a bit of an extra bonus in. And I'm just flicking through my own. So first scenario at 1,000 points is kill. So we do that straight up.
Yep.
Second one, 1,000 points is invade, straight out of the book. Then dominate 1,500 points, then pillage at 1,500 points.
Yep.
And then day 2, we go kill and pillage at 2,000. Game 5 at 2,000 is loot.
Yep.
Then kill and pillage. So that's your 6 games straight out of the book.
Yep.
And then the final scenario is invade. But before the first deployment, each person gets to secretly nominate one of their opponent's units. And if during the course of play you rout that unit, you add the points of that unit to their tally as if had it finished wholly in your opponent's side. So you can use that as a tactic to discourage your opponent from using that unit and therefore possibly giving you the points, or you could use it as a tactic for trying to bait your opponent into having that unit stay in their own line so that you don't have to fight against it.
Interesting.
I've played it a few times and it's quite fun and very tactical depending on which unit you select, because you can go for the 80-point gargoyle unit that you're pretty likely to pick up just in if they fly it around. You know, you can pick one of their chaff units and you're pretty likely to pick it up because they need their chaff units. Or you can go, righto, there's the 320-point monster combat unit that I know you want to fight with, so I might as well try and get that and get all those points.
Interesting. Bit of mind games there. It's good.
Yeah, that's what I say. I love the whole part of the hobby. I love the lot. So we also have some painting points associated, and that's going to be done off a scale of points that you can get based on our judge's decision on how you've done based on our set of tick boxes, I suppose.
Yep.
And we've got a pretty well recognised painter from past times and probably currently could if he just had the birth of his second child, Dom Holloway.
Ah, yes. Yep.
So Dom's won a lot of painting prizes and used to be a commission painter and all sorts of stuff. So he's one of our members and he's going to pop in to do the paint judging on day 2.
Yep.
When everyone's got their full 2,000 points out and about. So yeah, it's only a total of 12 points. So it's not massive, but it just adds in a little bit.
Yeah, it's enough.
Yeah, correct.
And you're planning to use, is it the Clash of Kings tournament pack or similar to, with all the new restrictions in it?
Well, we had to advertise the tournament and get things up and about as far as discussion goes before they actually posted the final Clash of Kings rules.
Yep.
But so what we had to do was pick our own version of what they were talking about that they were proposing at the time that we published it. So we'll have a few special rules in there that are not straight out of the book, that are pretty much from what was interesting in reading the Clash of Kings one, because it's pretty much what we've done. But that just means that we got good information the first time about what they were planning to do, I guess.
Yeah. Okay. Got anything else you want to plug for the tournament, Andrew?
Look, I had a conversation with the venue today, because we're only at 11 people signed up so far, and I was thinking that we were going to really struggle to pay for everything we needed to pay for if we didn't get to 20. But the venue I've been working with for years and years, and they said, look, we'll work it based on numbers. So if you end up with 12 or 14 players, we'll change what we charge you. And so as of lunchtime today, tournament is definitely on. If we've got the 11 players or 12 players that we've got now, it'll still run. And if we end up with 40 players, then the venue makes more money out of it, and we have a bigger prize pool. Simply. So that's the go. It's all going to happen, and sign up, guys. Let us know. The more advanced notice I've got on how many people are coming, the better trophies I can pay for, and the better prize support I can twist people's arm for.
I went to a few Convics many moons ago, and the days were great. Cheap beer.
Yes, it's 1970s beer prices for the 70 and 80-year-old bowlers.
And not to mention the accommodation across the road, whilst not brilliant, it's all
It
you
will
need,
suffice.
really. Yeah.
So you've got the Walsing Matilda Hotel across the road, which does quite a good counter attack and all that sort of stuff. It's passable accommodation. There's a McDonald's on the other corner across the road for your fast food hit, and we often run a barbecue and so forth. Depending on numbers of people there, we often run a barbecue for lunch and even do a breakfast sometimes. But once again, that'll depend on how many people are coming along, whether it's worthwhile firing up the barbie and throwing some eggs and bacon rolls out or whatever.
And for anyone interested, I will be taking ogres, and my ogre outfit will be making an appearance.
Wear an ogre outfit?
Yep.
Oh my god!
I wore it for the last Convic a couple of years back when I ran ogres, and I've made a few adjustments since.
Sure. Is this a Shrek-based one?
No, this is more like a butcher from Warhammer Fantasy.
Gotcha.
So, bloodied apron and whatnot.
Bleeding guts. Yep.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Beautiful. Well, I'm not sure if we have a prize for that, but we do.
It's a spectacle.
This is a special thing that's assigned only to Convic, as far as I know. Back in the day when we were planning the tournament, we used to go to DogCon. All of us used to go up to Sydney to DogCon, and they had an ugliest general prize that they used to hand out. But we thought we were a little above that, so we've always had the sexiest general prize. So my lovely wife will be coming in during the tournament surreptitiously and selecting an appropriate candidate for the sexiest general, and they will receive the most coveted mirror award for the sexiest general at the tournament.
Well, there goes your chance, Bensome.
Yeah. Not to worry.
So fun to be had, games to be played. 7 on the weekend is it's a good deal if you can get 7 games in a weekend and a leave pass from other things that are real life, I reckon.
Yeah, I totally agree.
Agreed.
We'll put all the details in the show notes, so for those that are interested, there'll be links and whatnot there. What's the Convic website, Andrew?
It is convic.com.
Convic.com. There you go.
So it's associated with when the Warhammer tournament found its end, it was taken over and run as War Machine.
Ah, yes. Yep.
So the War Machine guys have been running it for the last 5 years, and they will still run Convic War Machine.
Yep.
So I'm running Convic Kings of War, and about a month and a half later there'll be a Convic War Machine, which is one of the big qualifier events apparently. Not that I really know much about that.
Right. Anything else at all?
No, just I suppose a plug to Mike Crossman and a thank you for running the tournament on the weekend.
Yes.
Mike Con 2, that was excellent. It's lovely to have tournaments to go to. So the more people who are prepared to stick their hands up and run them, the happier I am.
You took out first place, Andrew. Do you have
Did.
time to do a quick overview or run through the tournament?
Sure, no problems at all. So I think we had a dozen players, is that right?
Yeah, yep.
A dozen players. We played 4 scenarios at 2,000 points. Finished off with the kill scenario. We played invade and pillage and loot.
Yep,
and loot. I personally played 2 undead armies, a dwarf army and an abyssal army.
Yep.
Played Stacks in his dog pound list, he called it, which was pretty funny. It's a spammed small units of dwarves, and each one had a throwing mastiff.
Right.
So I think he had 9 or something like that throwing mastiffs plus 5 war machines, which was good fun to deal with.
I didn't have to play that.
No, I really enjoyed it because I got first turn and killed 2 of his war machines with my war machines in first turn. So that made me feel very good. So, yeah, took away a bit of his nasty firepower and, ended up with a good win over Stacks. And so I had my first 3 games were wins and ended up in a draw in the kill scenario. There's sort of 150-odd points the difference between John and myself. We had Abyssals.
Yep.
Had one of those classic 1-1 moments at the start of the game, which set things along a train that I didn't like. Did 25 wounds to his unit of Abyssal Riders.
Yep.
With 2 big units and a character all lined up to then go on and do other things. And 25 wounds to something that has 18 and then double woned it, which meant that he'd got to charge back and and everything else got to charge back in with it and whatever. So it was one of those things that was pushing the proverbial uphill from the start. So I was happy to get a draw at the end and ended up taking out the tournament just on attrition points from the other games that we played. So, yeah, pretty lucky. And, but I think I said it to you at the very start of the day, Ben. Any day you get to play 4 games of Kings of War's good day.
Oh, yeah. If you don't mind, Andrew, do you want to share your Abyssal list, or is it top secret?
Oh, hell no. I'm not secretive about anything. There's nothing too secretive to worry about there. I'll have to remember exactly what I took. But
even if it's just rough outline.
Yeah, a bit close. So I took a horde of slave orcs, just naked, no magic items or anything like that. I just find that they take up such a big footprint, being 25 mil models and horde size.
That's massive, isn't it?
Fill a space just beautifully on the board that if you want to block something up. And that with a nerve of 2022 and crushing 1 and 25 attacks, they're pretty good. First time I tried to charge with them in the first game, they were yellow bellied, which you got to take that one when it happens to you. But yeah, so that's sort of the start of the list. Then a couple of units of gargoyles for chaff and haranguing the flanks. And I tend to play them as I'm going to drop this in front of your unit so that you don't get to charge my unit.
Yeah.
And you can either not charge them or you can take that 80 points and then I'm in your face sort of stuff. So, it's rare that I get to flip them over the back and go chasing war machines or anything like that. They tend to be, meat for the grinder.
Yep.
Then the meat of my army was a regiment of half-breeds with the Pathfinder item so that they always keep their thunderous when thundering through the forests. And then 2 units of hordes of grotesques. That's where the real killy power comes from. Crushing 2 and thunder 1. The regen is just gold. So my Abyssal Dwarf army doesn't have a lot of dwarfs in it so far, if you've noticed. What's next? The twins, as I call them, 2 big stone golems with a handler who is the Ironcaster with Surge, and also give him the 20-point item that allows him to give everybody inspiring, not just the not just the war machines. So that he sort of goes around, hides behind them, and then allows them to surge into flanks and rears and all that sort of stuff when people are silly enough to fly big things behind you and stuff. what else have we got in there? Three war machines. Took 2 heavy mortars and a regular mortar. First time I've ever taken 3, and I think I might be doing that again.
When they hit, they do a lot of damage.
Yeah, I think first, as I said, against stacks, I think I hit all three hit their targets in turn 1, and you just go, oh.
Yep.
You know, and you go turns without them hitting and things, but when you got 3, you got a much better chance of actually doing something. And when they hit, they're just unbelievable.
Mm-hmm.
D6 plus the heavy ones, D6 plus 4, piercing 3.
Yep.
With vicious.
Yep.
Yeah, that's nasty.
So, you're pretty much, you're doing between 5 and 11 wounds every time you hit with them. They're unreal.
Mm.
They're unreal. But yeah, don't tell everybody.
Right. Okay. Sure.
Okay, it's just between us, right?
Yeah.
What else do we have in there? I had a half-breed champion, and did I give him anything? No, I think he was just nude. He's mobile, sharing his inspiring, and with crushing 3 and a 360 threat range at 16 inches. He's really handy, gets you out of trouble guy.
Yep.
He pretty much won one game for me just by taking it in the flank. And my poor opponent, when he went to overrun with his massive knight unit, rolled a 1 instead of a 2+ that he needed, and left his flank exposed to grotesques and died.
That'll hurt.
Yeah, it'll hurt when that happens. But yeah, I think that's pretty much the list. I don't think there's anything else.
So you didn't take the grotesque champion at all?
No, I actually had him written into the list about halfway through the week.
Yep.
And I'd started modelling up a model to put him in because he's 20 points cheaper than the half-breed champion. And I just couldn't find the extra 20 points anywhere. I thought, all right, it's not as many attacks, no big deal. And then a mate of mine looked at the list and he went, you know this isn't inspiring, right? And I went, what?
Yep.
I went, why would you ever take... The only reason to take that is if you expect to get flanks and rears and want the bonus for the number of attacks that you get. There's just no reason to take the grotesque champion over the...
No.
I mean, you could take him and then give him the inspiring talisman.
And it's the same cost.
And he costs the same thing.
With less attacks and thunderous charge.
Yeah. And then you can't give it to the Ironcaster who is hanging back with your other things and trying to give them some inspiring.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Yeah. So I've got a model that's 2/3 painted, and that might be all.
2/3 painted.
That's a conclusion we come up with when we did the Abyssal Dwarf review.
I listened to that one. It was a goodie.
We'll leave it at there then.
Yep.
Thanks very much for your time, Andrew.
Not a problem.
Well, as I said, we'll leave all the information in the show notes, and if you're at all interested, check out the links and sign yourself up.
Indeed, make sure you go. It'll be good.
It'll be good.
Please do. It will be ace.
Yep. All right. Thanks for coming. We'll see you soon.
Cool.
Bye.
Bye.
Okay. All right. So, how about that event? Where did you go? What did you do?
I went to MikeCon 2, which was not last weekend, was it? Weekend before, I think.
Recent?
Rather recent. And I took the list that I put up for the Abyss cast or army review that we did with the Twilight Kin allies. So for those that are interested, it was a Gargoyle troop, 2 Succubi regiments, 1 with the Brew of Strength, Horde of Tortured Souls with the Brew of Courage, Abyssal Horseman regiment with Pathfinder, Ifrit with the Piercing Artifact, Temptress with Bane Chant, the Archfiend with Wings and 6+ defense, and the Twilight Kin allies were a horde of Abyssal Riders, a Dark Avenger on Abyssal Mount, and a Gargoyle troop.
So it sounds solid.
I actually think it's a solid list.
And how'd you go?
Oh, really poorly. Really poorly. First game I played against an undead player. I can't remember exactly what was in his list. It was something along the lines of Vampire on a Dragon, Archer Horde with +1 to hit. It was 2 or 3 Ghoul troops, a Spear Horde that may have had an item, I don't know, a Necromancer, Army BSB with a Diadem, Soul Reaver Regiment. There was a Zombie Legion Catapult, and there may have been something else. I'm not sure exactly. But this one got to me a little bit because we only finished the game at turn 4. It was a very slow, tedious game. And I'm hoping that the next MikeCon has chess clocks. I spent a lot of the game chasing around or trying to stop the dragon. In hindsight, I probably should have just whacked the Archfiend in front of it and followed it round with that.
Yeah.
But I decided to try and get my cavalry to take it out, and it took a lot longer than expected. I ended up losing the game because we finished early. I had a 260-point unit stuck on the middle of the board. I was invade, by the way, sorry. And I lost by 5 points. So.
Oh well. Close,
so
but
yeah. Yeah, that one wasn't so good. Hopefully next one has chess clocks and I won't get screwed over like that again.
Game 2.
Game 2, played dwarves. There were a lot of dwarves. I played Seji. I can't remember what was in his army list exactly. There was a big horde of, I don't know if they're riflemen or something. Is that what they're called?
Yep.
A big horde of warriors, a unit of berserkers, a regiment, I think it was. 2, what are the 6+ defense guys? Iron Guard or something?
Iron Guard, yeah.
I don't know.
Ironclad is normal dudes, Iron Guard are the...
Yeah. One of them had +1 crushing strength.
Okay.
And then the other one dropped the shield for a double-handed weapon. So they were both pretty hitty. Thought I had Seji in this one until his rifleman let loose.
And took everything off?
Yeah. No, he took 3 units off in a turn, which then gave him the chance to get the counter on the right-hand side of the board.
That's a quarter of your army. 3 units in 1 turn.
Yeah, one of them was a horde of Abyssal Riders, the Twilight Kin. One was the character, the Abyssal... not the Abyssal, the Twilight Kin character, and I can't remember what the other one was. It was important for some reason. Don't know, but either way, that turn dissolved my right flank and gave him the freedom to turn around when he probably shouldn't have. I think the Abyssal Riders got taken off the board with a boxcar roll, or they only had 4 or 5 wounds on them and then high roll for nerve. And I'd kind of committed the character to a combat, so they disappeared.
Right.
Yeah. Anyway, to cut a long story short, this one ended up in a draw. He held a counter on the right-hand side. This one was loot. I probably should have mentioned that. I held the one on the left-hand side. A unit of Succubi just sat on it. The dwarfs were too scared to charge.
Or too smart to charge.
Well, he had me outnumbered. Yeah. But anyway, yeah, ended up in a draw. That was probably the best game I had. Maybe I can put a link up to show pictures in the show notes or something.
Sure, why not?
Third game, I played Nick and his Undead. This was a really grindy list. Zombie Legion, Zombie Horde, Zombie Skelly Spear Horde. No, not Zombie Skelly.
Zombie Skellies, yeah.
They're still dead, aren't they? Spear Horde, Soul Reaver Regiment, Werewolf Horde, I'm assuming it is. And had a couple of units of ghouls and a vampire and a dragon as well. This one, just a bit unlucky on some really high nerve checks, even with a reroll. Lost a unit of Succubi to zombies coming out of a freaking forest, so it's -1 to hit. -1 to hit from the Succubi as well, which was a bit owies.
Yeah.
Same thing with my Abyssal Horseman. I was stuck in a forest, although I did find out later on that I was kind of jibbed by a rules decision by by Mike, but we'll let that one go.
Let it slide.
Yeah, that one I'd like to play Nick again. It was a really fun game. A couple of really lucky nerve rolls got me, and he took home the markers there and the kills. Last game, this one I'd prefer just to skip completely. Played Scott Undead.
Why?
If the dice hadn't deserted me in round 3, they certainly deserted me in round 4. I'll just keep this really short. One combat, I had a unit of Tortured Souls in the flank of Wraith Troop and a unit of, I think it was Abyssal Horsemen in the front.
Mm-hmm.
And I even called it beforehand, better roll a double 1.
that was the issue. You shouldn't have called it.
Rolled a double 1, and then, because he held me up with all these units, he had a zombie dragon ready to pounce.
Yeah.
And then I just collapsed, funnily enough. That was it.
So you took your new fancy dice tray?
Yeah.
And it didn't work? I suppose it held the dice in place, it just didn't make them roll any better.
No, it didn't help them roll any better. I didn't expect it to, but I think I've always found I pick up dice that are made for, wound markers or the dice hit miniatures, and whether it moves them slightly or not, I just prefer to keep my dice in a box.
Yeah. And that's fair enough. Oh well, next one's coming up in August. Better luck then.
Yeah, well, I've got Convic first, so we'll worry about that.
Yeah, that's true. So we've got to get prepared for that. I've got my second giant well underway. So just got to put together some blast wagons and I'll be golden.
I should probably finish some painting of my own. I probably should construct 3 different armies, eh?
Yeah, that would be an idea. Just before we go though, I'd like to just mention that there is a games convention in Yarraville, western suburbs of Melbourne. PandaCon, if you haven't heard of it, look it up, pandacon.com.au. This is the start of July, 2nd and 3rd, I believe. It's got all sorts of games going, small tournaments, Android, Netrunner, Dungeons and Dragons, Malifaux, Guild Ball, Star Wars, can't think of anything else there, I'm sure there's a bunch more. Tickets you can buy online. But yeah, check it out. Attend, make it big, and then it'll come back bigger and better, I would think. So until then, we've got a Ogre Army review coming up shortly, so stay tuned for that. Was there anything that you wanted to mention, Spoon?
No, I think we'll keep it for the next missive.
Yep, sounds good. Alright, thanks champs for listening and staying tuned, and we'll catch you next time.
Yeah, direct misfire blowing up the game. Talking many war games is our aim. From rulebooks to advice, we cover it all. With the best tactics, we never fall. Bensome and Spoon are your hosts every vid. Misfiring, but aiming up ahead. Comment, like, and subscribe today, keeping you notified and up to date. Come check us out at facebook.com/directmisfire or shoot us over an email at directmisfire@gmail.com.